what I was going to expect. I don't expect the Churn Walker to come through, unfortunately, for this team. I don't think they have had enough time to practice it since, especially they were at Mobile Masters, so they were playing on 2.8 for a very long time. And Lance is probably the more likable pick, especially since Hegman plays it really, really well.
See where they do choose to go with this one. As you rightly say, Hegman can definitely grab that Lance for himself. Should that be the pick they want to lean towards? They're going to go with the Kestrel, though. They know that that's a very comfortable pick for Techno JJ, so trying to deny that one.
Yeah, a little bit interesting to me that they didn't go for one of those captains, because now we have 3 captains banned away. Fnatic is going to get the captain for their team, so all of a sudden SK is going to have to be looking at a 5th captain at least, and what other options are really big right now? You have, you can pull out the Finn. I still expect Lance to be grabbed here by Fnatic, most likely, just because that is has been prioritized pretty heavily. But then you've got Finn, Flicker, Churnwalker. That's really it.
You're running out of options.
Those are really your only other options. So
Captain Batiste could be an option as well. That's something we've seen less recently, but always an option.
This is most likely going to be a Vox pickup here also for Fnatic, since they need the weapon power carry. Techno JJ did play it yesterday, and they won with it. With the Lance, it combines well. You can pressure, you can try to get leads early on. If not the Vox, they could go for Jewel that they just played against, but that is a little bit riskier.
That's a bit riskier, in my opinion, just with what they've already got. I think having that Vox, someone who can be relatively safe, scale up well, but they're going to go for a Glaive.
Something you mentioned.
This is extremely surprising to me that they're willing to continue to run this Glaive pick.
Yeah, first Glaive of 2.9, so I'm curious to see how this is actually going to pan out for them. But by the looks of things, it's going to be going into that lane for Techno JJ as well. So typically, even in 2.8, we were seeing it more in jungle than we were in lane. Very excited to see how Fnatic can use this pick.
And what I like about it actually is that it's going up against both a Kestrel and a CP Black for the 2 squishy heroes that are easily able to... Glaive is easily able to get on top of them with his Afterburn to try and burst them down after they would have gotten a lead with the Rhyme in the jungle. So I actually like Fnatic's draft again a lot better than SK's. I mean, they could really do it and win the series here with this draft.
This would be a huge upset if it was a straight 2-0 for Fnatic over SK. We are going to see the Grace as the final lock-in. Obviously, an incredibly good pairing alongside a Black Feather with the Kestrel on the backline. How are we feeling about this one then? Because typically when we talk about Black Feather jungle, this is one of those similar to Reza where it takes a little while to pick up.
This one's going to be really interesting in terms of the positioning in team fights, because obviously Glaive and Lance are going to want to be relatively aggressive going after that Kestrel. But Black Feather and Grace, they're going to be looking to go aggressive against the members of Fnatic. So this Kestrel could actually end up being extremely vulnerable in these situations, and that could open up the door for Fnatic to take over this game.
It certainly could. It's time to get into game number 2 of this series. Let us know who you are supporting. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter. Get involved in the conversation on social media. It's time to jump on into the map and get into SK Gaming going up against Fnatic. It's game number 2. Can Fnatic take a 2-0? Let's find out as we pass it to Medic and Excoundrel.
Thank you very much, Munch. I am Medic, I'm joined by Excoundrel, and we are on the brink of history, Excoundrel. SK unbeaten in 4 weeks of the VG8 in Split 1, now staring down the barrel of a Fnatic gun as they are 1-0 down in this best of 3.
And this is a great position for Fnatic to put themselves in. You know, they kind of have to roll the dice of miracles if they want to make it to Worlds in terms of points from this point forwards. But I tell you where a good place to start is knocking the current board leaders out in this particular game. Fnatic, if they win this week, you know, they're in a position where there is a world, maybe, that they find themselves in that top spot. And they've been playing like champions in that last game. Let's see if they can carry on. Techno JJ on his very, very... well-practiced Glaive, and Palmatoro playing that Rhyme, which we know is still incredibly strong. They're going to start inside to out, going to guarantee themselves that Elder Trion and move back through the jungle that way. They have a Rhyme, quick clear speed. Techno JJ should also get level 2 off this as well, so it's not a bad way to share experience.
And then get Techno JJ into the lane. Of course, is a melee into ranged matchup in that lane, so it is a lane that we expect Kvalifar to be able to win on this Kestrel. How as a team do you then play around that, Excoundrel? Because it's so tough when you're playing a matchup where you are just outranged by your opponent.
Well, you have a lapse, right? So, I mean, in the early game, you're not going to be able to slip into instantaneous active camo as the Kestrel. You can use the Afterburn in lane just to set up ganks very easily with the Lance, and then you have the root coming out from Palmotoro, maybe just exactly like this.
Does get into the active camo in time though. Hegman there's still the knockback with the Afterburn, and Cavalify now on the wrong side of the house the unfold. He's going to get taken down. First blood to Fnatic once again.
Yeah, I mean, how many times as a caster do you get to say something and then it happens? It was kind of obvious, I guess.
I set you up for it, man. That's how we do.
You did.
How we do.
I mean, I've missed you. You've done it for me again. You make me look moderately smart at stating the obvious. So I think I'll take that. But yeah, fantastic from Fnatic. That's exactly how you want to play. Be aggressive with the Lance and the Glaive. It's a great combination. And then add the root of the Rhyme in there. You've got a great ganking squad. And Fnatic have already taken that first gank of the game.
Like with a good Gideon wall, but he's going to fall here. Cavalify getting a kill in return. Perhaps just overstayed a little bit there. Was too far forward in that mustache bush.
Yeah, maybe just a bit over-aggressive in his positioning, and a good rotation up from the Fnatic squad means they'll return. And now Cavalify can look to push back against Techno JJ here. Net Toilette did pick up a decent amount from that. Techno JJ takes a lot of damage, forced to burn that healing flask, because you've got to respect a Weapon Blade start Grace, because usually as a Weapon Blade start Grace, you want to be aggressive and look to go and invade the opponent's backs. That's maybe part of the reason why Fnatic went inside to out to prevent the Grace invade. But you start to respect the damage that Benediction can do because of that Weapon Blade start on Hegman. He will actually chunk you in these early levels.
Once again, Palmotoro comes up to the lane just to try and relieve some of this pressure. Fnatic not had that aggressive early start we saw from them in game one. It's going to be a little bit slower here. So I'm really interested to see how well they can actually translate a slower start into a win against SK, because they had an early advantage in game one. They were able to snowball that away, but you have to feel when the teams are even coming into that 5-10 minute mark, that's really where we're going to have to see Fnatic step up. Palmotoro already stepping up, taking the Elder Tree for his own against Tyrus in that 1v1. And now SK are forced back a little bit. The damage onto Hegman as well, a great impale, the knock up. Hegman's going to try and get his way away, but he will fall, and Palmotoro once again going aggressive on this Rhyme, gets himself another kill.
Yeah, Hegman didn't really need to rotate down. Tyrus had the on point, the decaying slow, the barrier that comes from it. And that was enough. I think should be able to get his backs here. I don't think Palmotoro is going to overstay, and Tyrus won't get punished too heavily for that. But looking at Cavalify in the lane now, he's having to ward away Fnatic, who are looking to go aggressive under this first turret. One thing that I think SK have in their favor is this gets later and later. You get the level 8 on the CP Blackfeather, you get the extended range on your on point, you're going to have the glimmer shots. There is one facet of the SK composition that really trumps Fnatic, and that's just the range that they have. That range at level 8 for Blackfeather and also for Cavalify on these glimmer shots, it's going to hurt Fnatic if they can't find these engages. There's an engage.
Great route onto Cavalify. He's locked up as well, but is able to just get out with the active camo. Good Githyan Waldo from Net Toilette, and once again, Net Toilette comes up big. He finds the kill for Fnatic, and it means they don't waste their time in the lane.
Yeah, and again, just looking to punish this Weapon Power Blackfeather before she can get the instantaneous stealth. It's an area of the game where then it'll be very difficult to find these afterburns, because, again, she can just appear on you at any time. To be Net Toilette just going aggressive here, maybe with Palmotoro on that side.
Yeah, gets the flank in, a good double stun though with it. Holy Nova, the knockback onto Tyrus, but this Blackfeather is so slippery, so easy to escape with, and I want to come back to that as well, because Blackfeather we saw banned in every single game on day one here in EU. Tyrus has picked it up here, Fnatic are giving it over to SK. It's such a strong hero that I'm surprised to see it get this far through a draft.
Well, it's interesting because the majority of what people see Blackfeather to be strong as right now is the Weapon Power Blackfeather route. Like, most people say that is the more broken of his two build paths. And so with SK flexing him into a CP Blackfeather jungle, it's kind of like, like you're not as bothered about playing against a CP Blackfeather in the jungle than you would be as a Weapon Power Blackfeather on this current update, because Weapon Power Blackfeather is really where people are saying, yeah, he's really, really strong right now. CP Blackfeather is strong, don't get me wrong, but not maybe as strong as the Weapon Power Blackfeather route. So this isn't as bad for Fnatic. Something else that we haven't really mentioned as well is how good Grace is into heavy melee compositions. You have the Holy Nova, and you saw how devastating that has been in some of these fights for Fnatic, just disengaging every time they clump up onto the Grace and she lands that big Holy Nova stun. Interesting that I was predicting maybe Hegman would level that and overdrive that first, because when you overdrive your Holy Nova, you get the ability to ignore all CC while channeling, which means even the Lance Scythian Wall and so on and so forth, you're going to be able to position that Holy Nova and it's going to stick there. So that's potentially what I was thinking Hegman would do. They're going to catch up Cavalifar.
Valkyrie comes out, good afterburn back, but Cavalifar's still alive with the Fountain. Eventually he will fall, and Fnatic can continue to be aggressive, but Tyra's with so much damage. A great Gideon Wall into double impale. Still we see the damage coming out onto Palmatora, and on point hits, but it's not quite enough. Fnatic get their second kill of the fight, and now it's only Hegman left alive.
And you can see how devastating it is when you lock up a weapon power Blackfeather early on. Sorry, if you lock up a weapon power Kestrel early on and she gets locked into this chain of CC that the Fnatic roster have brought to the table, it's why you see Cavalifar's had to go for a reflex block. Most weapon power Blackfeathers, they would. I keep saying weapon power Blackfeather. Most weapon power Kestrels wouldn't even consider a reflex block, but it is absolutely necessary for Cavalifar right now, this early on into his build path, because he is just getting absolutely chain CC'd. Every single fight, almost impossible for him to find range for glimmer shots, impossible for him to even deal damage, because he's constantly trying to run away from this slurry of roots, stuns, repositions that Fnatic are bringing to the table. Hegman has now unlocked his ultimate, the Divine Intervention, which gives you that Holy Shield, reducing damage by, I believe it's 30% now, but it's still a good amount of damage reduction, and that might be the key to keeping Cavalifar alive in these fights.
It definitely could be. I think getting that big heal out of it as well will help you out a lot. We see Cavalifar continually getting caught. We actually have a poison shiv coming out from Techno JJ to try and respond to that, saying, okay, we know you're going to heal up. Let's try and reduce that as much as we can. Tyra's with an infusion popped here. At that level 8 is actually equal level with Palmatora, which is something we didn't see in the last game. Last game, Palmatora was able to snowball away from the SK jungler, but here it's a much more even affair, although Fnatic have that 1,000 gold lead early on.
Well, it's something that the analyst desk were talking about quite extensively, how much investment for Fnatic especially went into these infusions, and Palmatora specifically loves to essentially spend his cash on infusions rather than heavily investing into tier 3 items early on. You can see level 8 got that infusion popped, he's ready to make a fight happen with it, but level 8 on Tyra's now, and you're starting to see the power of the extended range on the on point and how difficult it is for Fnatic to respond to it. This is exactly the point in the game where you felt like SK were going to find their way back in, and now with the on point and the glimmer shots, they've done so much damage to that first turret, and Fnatic are finding it very difficult to even get into range to consider an engage against SK right now.
And if you're Fnatic now, you're thinking of flank opportunities, you're thinking of positioning, you're thinking about how you actually get onto this SK backline. A great Gideon Wall, net toilet there, the Valkyrie comes out as well, but a separated team here from SK. You can see Hegman praying to the gods above, saying, I need divine intervention, but it's not enough, as Fnatic will get another kill for themselves. Now in a 2v3 situation, Fnatic can step forward, they can push into these double range carries from SK, but net toilet is dead. The Rose offensive comes out from Tyra's to help pick up that kill, and Techno JJ and Palmatora need to be so cautious with how they approach this turret.
Execute damage might have been nerfed, but it's still a lot of damage on that Faint of Heart and the Rose offensive too. You saw Tyra's there finishing off the job before the Fountain even got popped from Net Toilette. He'll think, even though Fnatic have had the advantage, they've only got 1,000 gold lead. It's not a substantial gold lead for them at this point in the game. They haven't snowballed as hard as they did last time round. And like we said, the SK composition is starting to come into its strengths against what Fnatic have brought to the table. Fnatic have got, I think, a composition that I would be thinking of as super early War Treads with. I'd be thinking of Journey Boots on Palmatora as soon as I physically could. The movement speed and the engage of those items is so crucial, in my opinion, to how this needs to be played out. Otherwise, you're just going to be sat there essentially taking volley and flurry of these skill shots that have got such a range on them at this point in time. It's very difficult for you to respond to it.
Just the poke from the on point is devastating here for Fnatic, and they do need to be able to defend. Another impale does connect, but it's only on Tyra's. Look at Techno JJ, he just gets destroyed, melted out of the fray, and now Palmatora is in a sticky situation. He falls as well. 2 kills over to SK, and you have to feel this is the beginning of their comeback in this game and in this series against Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic made some incredible early moves into the lane, but they didn't do it often enough. You know, you should have been looking to combo every time the afterburn was up, every time searching for some sort of engage. But unfortunately, Palmotoro locked it into his rotations. They didn't get enough of an early lead. They didn't put enough pressure on Tyrese in the jungle. And like you said, you're hitting item breaking points now. You're hitting the ability to put pressure on these carries from Fnatic from range before committing as well. And Fnatic now find themselves on the losing end of the gold lead. 2,000 immediately picked up after that gold mine. SK, are they beginning another SK reverse sweep here? They've got the gold advantage to work with. This could be doing exactly as they did yesterday against Dynasty, coming back from 1-0 down to fight their way back into the series.
And how much of it comes back to the draft and, you know, giving up this CP Blackfeather and giving up the Kestrel over to SK and picking 2 melee carries for yourself on Fnatic? You know, do they just need to alter 1 or 2 things when they get into that next draft if they end up losing this game and then still have a shot against this SK lineup? Or do you think that they are just defeated by SK now? Do you think that their mental strength will fail if they lose this game?
Fnatic have got a tendency when things go bad for things to go continually bad. They're a team that I have known to tilt, especially, you know, on live stage performances. But I think Fnatic have been working on that pretty hard. I think they should find a way back into it. A team definitely needs to have the potential to do so if they're going to be a top tier team. Netwillet goes in. He's got the echo.
Yeah, good flank there. Gideon Wall comes out. The second gets blocked by Tyrus. The root does come down, and Kavalapar stands at the back of the fight and says, okay, I'll hit you with some glimmer shots from long range. Tyrus looking for another on point. Hits onto Palmotoro, who's trying to just dodge his way around. But look at the Faint of Heart stacks. Tyrus trying to do what he can. There's the reflex spot coming out from Palmotoro as well, and this will be the second turret falling. You have to feel Fnatic just unable to stand up to a long-term fight. Techno JJ so low as Tyrus runs in. They'll just settle for the turret, and once again SK definitely on the front foot in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Fnatic. They can't engage. This is why I would have been thinking about war treads. I would have been thinking about movement speed early on, because every 60 seconds, you're going to get that war treads up, and that's going to be a way for you to rush into these fights and try to get immediate pressure down onto Kavalapar, try and burst Tyrus before they can poke from range. But Fnatic are getting beaten by a very rapid war of attrition. Every time they start to move up towards this Fnatic SK roster, you get hit by on points, you get hit by glimmer shots, and it's just chunking Techno JJ and Palmotoro out before they even have a chance to respond. Remember, both of these heroes, both Techno JJ and Palmotoro, need to be up close and personal to make use of their sustain. Glaive gets passive lifesteal, coupled with the poison shiv, he's got a lot of sustain built into his kit. You generate fortified health. Here's the engage.
All onto Tyrus. Do get him low, down to about half. Great stun.
Oh, look at the damage!
The Valkyrie comes out, and the stealth used immediately by Kavalapar. Already Techno JJ down so low, and Kavalapar just dodging around the side of the fight. Palmotoro unable to do anything. Another knockup from Hagman. And that is great play by SK to get the clean ace.
And this looks like it's essentially all she wrote for the Fnatic composition. I don't know what they can do against SK. Let's take a look at the replay here. Again, they think they catch up the Blackfeather, but a Rose Offensive is such a useful tool. A 3-man Holy Nova. We talked about how useful that skill is into heavy melee compositions. They walk straight into an active camo stun from Kavalapar. Another Holy Nova to stop the advances of Palmotoro, and SK clean up so easily. It's everything that got from this composition from SK. So anti-melee focused as well. On-point slows, Holy Nova stuns, active camo traps that you can lay and expect Fnatic to have to walk into if they want to chase the Kestrel down. I just don't feel that the Fnatic even have a chance unless they catch out Kavalapar and dive in super quickly with an afterburn or some movement speed from this Rhyme, who's really only sitting on tier 1 boots. Netwillet's caught out, is going in.
Gideon Wall comes out, there's the Crucible, but already Netwillet is dead, and Kavalapar lands the active camo stun. So much damage coming out. He's still alive, even through the Valkyrie. Palmotoro trying to chase him down with the Winter Spires. Won't get the kill. The Divine Intervention on Kavalapar. The healing is huge. And once again, SK with an ace, as no member of Fnatic is able to get a kill. This will be the Kraken, and you have to think that's pretty much game for SK.
I think we have touched on so many points throughout this game, and I think we've really been harping on that same note for the last couple of fights because they've all transpired in exactly the same way. SK have an incredible anti-melee dive composition. They just needed to hit that breakpoint at level 8 without getting too far behind, and they did so. Now they're snowballing into the late game. Dragon's Eye broken mid finish on Tyrus. He's going to scale up so quickly. Kavalafar nearly at his 4-item build, working towards a tornado trigger. Hegman has got the Echo Divine Intervention, keeping individual carries so incredibly safe in these fights. I don't know how much Fnatic can even do. Even the perfect team fight, catching out Kavalafar and immediately diving onto him, you've still got to burst through a double Divine Intervention, which at this point, given how low on burst you are because you haven't snowballed this Rhyme, feels almost impossible. SK are going to push in. This looks like it could be a lethal Kraken push for this Vayne Crystal.
Fnatic basically a full item behind on every single carry. Hegman there in the front line of the Kraken pushing in as well. SK looking just to try and equalize this series at 1-1 to keep their unbeaten streak alive. Net Toilet so low already as SK just continue their push forward. The Kraken will take out that second crystal turret. It's a ridiculous kill for Tyrus as he jumped all the way onto the back line, but already that turret has fallen. The crystal will be the new target for SK. Should be a pretty easy victory for them in the end. They fell behind early on, but they're able to hold out and take the win and equalize the series 1-1 up against Fnatic.
SK, they don't get fade after a single loss. They came back, they outdrafted, in my opinion, Fnatic so hard. I mean, the Glaive was definitely a questionable pick. I know the analyst desk were kind of confused about it. I don't think Glaive's in the best spot right now, but it is a good combination, as you saw with the Lance in the early game. But realistically, SK won it from level 8 when they didn't get too far behind. They got to a point where their composition just trumped everything that Fnatic brought to the table. It was